Hello, everybody. Uh, Today is the inaugural um, episode of Conversations with Changemakers, where we get to know the people behind today's wisdom and crafting tomorrow's vision. For the inaugural session, we actually have Wendy-Ann Smith, who I'm going to let introduce herself a little bit because the it would be a long laundry list, and you will find that in the magazine or on the website. Wendy-Ann, we are very excited to have you with us today.
Thanks, Per. I like how you put me in the hot seat there. I've got to truncate whatever I'm doing because you think it's too long. Anyway, it's good. Let's have a chat. Let's see what we can do with this first interview for all this works that we're doing.
Yeah, so for our viewers, I mean, obviously they're going to have background on you a little bit, but if you were at a place where time at a conference where the time was of the essence and you had to give a compact overview so people could get you in a packet, what are a few things that you might highlight for people so they could get acquainted rapidly?
Well, I'm Australian, in case anyone didn't hear that accent of mine. I'm a registered psychologist across two countries. Probably going to be a third by the beginning of next year. We'll see how we go. And um, and I've been around for a while, just been one of those quiet people prodding along, doing their work, and then had some brilliant idea to do something quite significant because I wanted to um, learn some new skills, hone some new skills. So I edited a book, put together a book with two co-editors, and that was the one, Positive Psychology Coaching in the Workplace. Call it the encyclopedia of that particular topic. And I think I'll forever call that my baby. It was quite a great experience and learning in many ways. But somehow or other that bit me in a good way. And I wanted to really focus on ethics somehow. I couldn't do it in that book. I felt like it wouldn't have given it the topic justice to have tried to nail it on the head in that particular book. So more work needed to be done. So here we are. We have now have the Coaching Ethics Forum, and we have the Journal of Coaching Ethics. And now the reason for us having this little chat now is the new magazine, Ethical Edge Insights. And they each, in their own way, have their own place in the space. On top of that, we also have two books, two more edited books, because clearly one wasn't enough for me, it seems. And that is the Ethical Coach's Handbook and Ethical Case Studies for Coach Development and Practice, in which I think the second one is a great book. First two chapters in particular, if I'm allowed to say that.
It is your hot seat to fill as you see fit. So um, I'm going to put an asterisk there and say make sure to read first two chapters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing been written about ethics for coaching or mentoring or anything that in the way that those two chapters attend to the topic. So I think they're foundational chapters for any work you want to do in the space. And then you can lean on into the Ethical Coach's Handbook and the work in there.
Great, thank you. I know everybody will go run and check those out. I'm going to rewind a little bit because you said you got bit. And so, one of the things that we are very interested in is what inspired you to actually pursue the current path, professional path that you're on.
To where I am now, well, where I got bit was about, leading these edited books. with what I've done alongside that since then, I kind of accidentally fell into it but I kind of drove it at the same time. It's almost like I was just in there doing it, wanting to make it work, but not really giving the bigger picture any forethought other than we just need to do something to drive ethics, to make it more prominent in people's minds, to make it likable so people do attend to it and get engaged and realize that it's actually really bloody fun. And that you can, there's heaps of benefits beyond just trying to do the most appropriate thing or the best thing or the right thing, whichever way people want to frame it. But there's many more benefits to it, being engaged in ethicality. And that, I'd say, is your own confidence, your own self-esteem, your well-being. The benefits go towards those elements, which we all now, aspire to have. And especially since COVID, everyone's kind of hooked on this well-being, as they should be. And so I don't know that people have actually thought about the fact that working with ethics, enhancing your ethical antenna, and going about increasingly embodying an ethical way of being, that you are actually supporting and growing and building your well-being as well. They're not standalone functions. And I think the two together then brings us to what I call a true sustainability of humanity.
I'm just taking a few notes, even though we're recording it. And so the big picture found you and kind of, it sounds like, and sucked you in.
Yeah, well, sort of. It's not a straight road, though people might think it is. Just how linear these things have happened. But it's like, I didn't go and have this great big board of saying, wow, what's my professional life look like? I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I want to have that. I haven't had one of those boards for about 15 years, because that particular board 15 years ago, interestingly enough, is still playing out some parts of it. But it was just this drive to want to change the way coaches, in my first lot of thinking, how they attended to ethics.
So that's where it started.
Yeah.
How do you feel, or like right now, like in this moment, if you were going to snapshot the space, how do you think the work has impacted the profession to this point?
I don't know that I have a full scope of its impact, but I have a fair idea because people tell me. And that's kind of cool. To be after the first conference, then I went to a positive psych conference in Iceland. And people recognized me, which is kind of a bit odd since I didn't know who they were, but they recognized me and they wanted to thank me and speak of their appreciation for the conference, the first one. And that was really nice to get to hear. This is true because it was a lot of work, but it was nice to hear. But one particular person from a country that I can't remember, but it was a European country. I think it was a Northern European country, but I can't remember which one. But that person said to me that on the back of that first conference, their postgrad coaching training course in academia, they had gone and revamped it on the back of that first conference. And I just floated away from that. I went up to, I think it was Christian van Newberg, and I said to him, this is why I did that stuff, because this is what this person just said. I said, we didn't make any money out of it. I didn't make much money out of it, but it wasn't about that. It's like that outcome is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. And so that was a big driver. Apart from the fact the conference was really well attended, astounded everyone, was really high quality. And to have that impact off the first one was huge. I've since come to learn that there are other places that have also re-engineered their programs on the back of the forum's work, and people just enjoy being in the space. I think they realize that it's not just about working to make them better people, but actually honing their skills in whatever they're doing. Opens their minds, challenges their thinking, and this can only be good.
So you're still in the wave. The wave is still propagating
Mm.
as far as what the influence is.
Yeah.
Um, if you could shape the long-term effect of your work, how would you have it influence?
Mm. There are so many coaches just for one particular kind of profession focus. There are so many out there, people who are registered with these coaching bodies. That's phenomenal in itself, how many are doing that. But then there's all those that aren't registered as well. So there's just so many. It's like they need to come to the forum. We need to expand out to all those points, just coaching alone without even getting into mentoring and business leaders, etc. So there's so much more work to do for really the betterment of all of us.
So your influence would be that people recognize
It's
the,
broad.
say that
It's
again.
broad. It's broad. The influence would be broad, not just around coaching, but it's broad across all professions. I would say even psychologists, um, therapists, like everyone can come in and learn a lot from this, um, from the conference in and of itself, just because it's not about some people, I think, might think that Coaching Ethics Forum, it has that name, so it's just about coaching. But the way the forum addresses ethics is way beyond coaching. It doesn't sit there and go through a code of any particular code of ethics and start marrying up behaviors. It's actually much deeper than any particular code of ethics of any kind. So I think there's scope for it to go broad and really capture a lot of people. And I mean, I think it's beyond my thinking what it could possibly be if we just get people engaged.
So to that point, our readership is active. You know that it's in the core of that one group of people. We have a broad reach. If there was one thing our readers could do, what would it be? What would be the call to action?
Join the conversation. Read the articles that are going to come, whether it's through the Journal of Coaching Ethics, or whether it's through the Ethical Edge Insights. But even more than that, for those who aren't so interested in academia and academic work, that's fine. They don't have to be. They can let the journal do its thing over there. But there's so many people that has such a depth of experience to share that they can be authoring and sharing those experiences through the magazine for everyone else. So it's a circular outcome, input outcome for everyone.
So almost like self propagation. If
Yeah,
you get involved, you'll be able to influence.
absolutely. You got any other ideas? How else?
Great. I we will put that to the population. You
Oh,
might
I want to hear your ideas. I put that to you right here and now. Have you got other ideas about how that could be?
my seat is very cool. I'm not in the hot seat. No, I share your belief and passion that in fact the best propagation is to own it. So, and then take responsibility to give it,
Yep.
right? So that, which actually brings me to the next question, and I'm not trying to dodge your, I'm not trying to dodge your question. I'm just prepared. Is actually to make ethics um, something that is innate, and it would be weirder if you didn't put the calculus of ethics into everyday life. Um,
Yeah. So imagine 30 odd years ago, I was a pretty heavy smoker of cigarettes. Just want to clear that up. And anyway, so for 30 years, I haven't had a cigarette. I'm now a non-smoker. I don't even identify as being a smoker. But it's just so natural for me to be a non-smoker now. But I've seen the evolution of society in relation to smoking, right? Particularly in Australia, where it was like cool to have a cigarette hanging out of your mouth or your fingers and hanging around and having a chat, to then they have just no smoking inside. So you had to leave. And when that started coming out about, it became antisocial over time to smoke, to be a smoker. And now they have these little smoking rooms that everyone goes in there and gasses themselves on cigarette smoke. So it's unfortunate they have those rooms, but I guess also inclusive in a way as well. But I think before they had this ingenious idea to have these rooms, it really was becoming a very strong social movement of being antisocial to smoke. And it really has changed the numbers and everything in Australia. And I think that, you can play the same out for ethics, that people just become more aware, they're thinking more about it. So they're becoming more mindful of their decisions and understanding what they are and how they're employing them and actually employing them, and having the courage to do some of the hard stuff, knowing that the outcome is good and it's a more natural way of being.
Right. And before we hit record, we were actually talking about agency, and you can see how, if everything's just codified, if it's just a code of ethics, there's really not agency so much as in, okay, let me paint by the numbers, and you're advocating and equipping people to have genuine agency and understand that ethics is going to be a little messy. But ultimately it's going to be real.
Mhm.
With that in mind, one of the questions we sent over, just so you could reflect on it a little bit, is I want to make sure I get this right. Is that because I understand the role of ethics? You're saying it should be second nature. It should be the same as like hunger, right? Like, how do I satisfy my hunger?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'm not saying
Fine.
it's that
Bad
way,
example.
but
Bad
yeah.
example. We're not even going to edit this out because we can just make fun of me, right? Um,
But yes, I want it to be an everyday normal occurrence where people don't feel isolated because they are upholding the highest ethical standards that they can rationale and put in place. And that happens. So, the more people are openly, actively engaging in the thinking and the acting ethically, then it's just how society is, as opposed to, um, you know, you don't feel so lonely in some of what can be some of the most challenging aspects of it. 'Cause let's not kid ourselves, it can be challenging depending on the circumstance you're in, but the benefits outweigh the the challenges. And if you are well equipped in terms of knowing what all the possible opportunities were, knowing and understanding you've made the choice to walk that pathway and knowing exactly why you're walking that and have that solid, I think it gives you the fuel you need to take the action. So it's when we're doing this collectively, it's not so lonely, not so feeling like I'm being the person thumping down society or in some way on some set of righteousness. And it shouldn't be that way, but it can feel that way from time to time. But I think the more people are openly, actively engaging and discussing it, it doesn't feel that way. It is actually more natural, a more enlightened way of being in the world, actually.
Yeah, thank you for recalibrating that. Now I know for a fact, since you corrected me when I called you out as a change maker, that you would not self-identify as that, but we have identified you as a change maker, and and you, like you said, you wouldn't put the spotlight on yourself, but you are somebody that is more advanced and equipped and have been working on it, and you are on the cutting edge of that, right? Because you're at the front end of generating that movement. So would you be game to share maybe something that an example of where ethical decision making is tricky and you have to work through it, and maybe your thought process around that?
Yeah, so I think you have to work through it every time, though some things are easier to work with than others, and some things are easier to understand and make a decision on. But thinking about the workplace and all that goes on, particularly in coaching, it's an incredibly competitive profession, which competition in and of itself is not a bad thing, but I think it can be, and I think it does show up in a negative way in coaching from time to time. So I think when you're dealing with status, perceived power, and you're having to hold people to account, that can be a hard walk through. I mean, let's face it, there are many people, you see it all over social media. They're liking everything that any one particular person says, no matter what they say. They follow them, and I think this is great. There are many, many thought leaders, many people who put great stuff out there to challenge people's thinking and really to educate and so forth. But we all hear stories and we all have experiences, and we all know that maybe some people aren't worth the attention they're given. Maybe they contribute greatly to the profession, but maybe don't really deserve the adulation they receive. And but there's potential outcomes for people if they do continue to adulate, even if the people don't deserve it. It's like winning favor. So I think there's a lot of this kind of stuff that goes on in our profession, and I'm not anti that, but I really would like people to be thinking more about, is this the person that actually deserves this in this way? Um, and if you end up in a situation where you don't feel that you're being treated appropriately or fairly, or whatever it is that your values are being encroached upon in some way, what are you doing about it? I hear of lots of people who just shut their mouth, whinge behind other people's backs, and actually don't attend to the situation because of the person of power or position or status or whatever. And that, I think, is not helpful. That it doesn't matter about the person in status of power. They'll do whatever they're going to do. They're not entirely bad people, but they've just gone wrong somewhere on something. But the person that's actually allowed their own values to be encroached upon and not attended to the unethical behavior of someone else, it's that person who gets damaged in some way, diminished in some way. gets a hit to their well-being that they have to then try and recoup in another way. Whereas if they attended to it, as scary as it might be, against someone with status and power, they actually grow from the experience. They learn so much, they grow in confidence and esteem. And before we know, they might be someone of status and power and have a brilliant story to take with them that holds them in good stead, that says, wow, I've been in this situation when I was that person and I got treated this way. That's not who I am. And I want to make sure I don't get engulfed in my own ego and start treating other people the way that I consider to not be appropriate. So I think these are some of the challenges that we can face. It's a little bit like the underbelly.
So I appreciate you went through the archetype of of what one might run into. I mean,
Yeah,
again, it doesn't have to
people
be that hot of
do.
a seat, right? But is there something that
I did that because it's worth mentioning, and I think it needs to be mentioned. It sits under there for too long, for a long, long time, for many, many people. And I don't need to go talking about specific stories, but still want to put that out there so people can consider it no matter who they are. Um, I've had to walk through some coals over the last 4 or 5 years, and I've walked through them. And I think I walk through them better now than what I did for some of the circumstances that were arising in the early piece, even in the beginning of my career, perhaps. I think I deal with them now. I'm stronger now because I'm stronger because of this sense of ethics and understanding how I use that to keep me strong, to hold my ground, foot firmly on the floor and walk forward no matter what I'm facing. And that's what I want for other people to be doing as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that because it sounds like that's also a pattern recognition. So because people might not even be aware, like you said, that I mean, it can be so inculcated in
Mhm.
the system that it's, oh, that's just the way that we do stuff,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, thank you for archetyping that because that's actually an early warning system or pattern recognition. Um, well, we're just coming to the close of our time. Is there, as we've talked through and hit a couple of points, went gone down some paths just a little bit, maybe others a little deeper. Is there anything that we have maybe missed or veered off of that you want to make sure that our readers or viewers uh, have a chance to take away should they choose to?
Yeah, that's the thing. Hey, people are going to view this as well. So we've got a website coming about for this magazine because the first issue will be launched soon. And then the second issue will be the launching of the magazine as well. I mean, launching of the website as well. Excuse me, Saturday night. Second wine. It's only the second wine, it'll be the last. And and so they will be viewing this interview as well as reading some snippets of it in the first issue. So I hope they enjoy it. I hope there's something in there for them to ponder, to consider about what they might do differently going forward or where they might lean or I don't have all the answers for everyone, by far not. Don't even have all the answers for myself. But I think we can all do our bit. It's a bit like the well-being movement. It's a movement in and of itself. Yeah, it's been around for 20 odd years, but since COVID, people are just grappling that big time. All of a sudden, it's like, hell yeah, this stuff actually really, really matters. And I say, yeah, we've been trying to tell you that for 20 years. Well, guess what? Long before me, people were saying ethics really matters, but everyone's going, yeah, yeah, yeah. But actually, yes, it really
So
does. And it's not that hard.
so ethics matters.
big time, yeah.
Stamp that in the stone. Ethics
Yeah.
matters.
Well, it's not just that it matters, it is the underlying factor of everything we do at every given time.
No, that's not no that no, that's a bold that's a bold exit. So um thank you for the time. We are creating a tradition of exiting with asking you to share a couple of moments that make you pause, like almost in disbelief that you actually get to do the work that you do.
It was after the first conference, and I think it happened again after the second conference that I went away for a couple of days because I was absolutely smashed. So I don't know how I'm going to go this year with 3 days. I was like, what the hell was I thinking going for 3 days? Let's do it 2 days next year. And I sat back and I just went, holy crap, what just happened? And then I was speaking to my mate Dumi, and he said, you know what you did? And I said, what the hell did I do? Because I was just exhausted and still kind of all very much in the doing and everything. And he said, you just hosted a high quality international conference of a caliber that, and of a kind and a type and a tone, which was unique for the space. And everyone loved it by far and large. Maybe there was one or two who complained, but by far and large, it was a well attended, well appreciated conference. And I had to really wrestle with that, like for a while. I'm like, huh? Huh? And I went, hell yes, I did, didn't I? So I mean, that was just amazing. And then just to have all the understanding of people letting you know what difference it's made to them, that has been great. And also, like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on a LinkedIn post, where I see so many people now wanting to promote the fact that they've done an ethics webinar. And when people are doing that, yeah, they're promoting it, but they're also doing it with a sense of pride, right? You're not going to put something out there that you're not proud of. And so I played with words and said, come join the pride at the Coaching Ethics Forum. And that stuff is really cool. Another thing, actually, which is kind of related to all of that, but it's just the amazing people that I work with now, that I have contact with, that I'll reach out to and say, listen, will you come and speak at my conference? And they say, yes, let's have a call and discuss what we're going to talk about. And I'm like, I can't believe these people who I've looked up to my whole career, however long I've known of them, that are just so happy to come and speak and participate in this work, really, that I put together. I mean, I think that's really cool. I like that they appreciate the topic enough to come and do that. So
So it's
that's
all
pretty,
in the people and the influence.
yeah.
Uh, Wendy-Ann, thank you so much. Um, we will, and for our viewers, um, we will have, it's first edition. So you're here for the inaugural one. So we will have a way for you to get information back to us. I can't send you to a website yet or any of that, but stay tuned and we'll see you for the next one. Take care.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you.